Hey everybody, it's I Plead the First. Welcome back from the weekend. It's your Monday episode. Today you're going to want to stick around and hear the scathing criticism of his own party from one Bill Maher. I'll see you on the other side. All right, everybody, before we start the episode, I just want to start the episode off right, and I want to give a big shout out to some wonderful ladies that have been supporting the show. So Janelle and all her friends that watch the show, listen to the show over there on their lunch break, thank you so much for all the support, ladies. I really appreciate the kind words I heard through Janelle this weekend. I really appreciate all the support. I take this show seriously. I really take it as a responsibility to be providing at least valuable thoughts to people so that they can come up with their own opinions. So it really helps me to hear that you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. I'm going to keep trying for you, ladies. So thanks for that. If you could please subscribe for me, it really, really does help the channel. So if you'll log into your YouTube account, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff really does help me. Now that we got that over with, as I promised, we're going to watch some Bill Maher. So if you don't know who Bill Maher is, he's had a show on HBO for many, many years. He is a liberal. Honestly, throughout my childhood, when I was younger, I would tune. I know I'm kind of a nerd, man, thinking about a kid probably as young as 12, I would tune into Bill Maher at my dad's house and watch Bill Maher and like listen to what he had to say, knowing that I completely disagreed with Bill Maher on pretty much everything, especially back then. Kind of wild for a 12-year-old to be doing that now that I think about it. But that was kind of the case, man. I would tune in pretty young, 12, 13, somewhere around in that age. And like I said, Bill Maher, he has his own show. He does his liberal perspective on pretty much everything. He's a little bit of a snarky comedian. I actually kind of like his humor, even if it is poking fun at a lot of my beliefs. I'm not sensitive like that. But the reason I'm bringing this episode up, I think it's really valuable for us to hear things from the other side. I've always told you guys that, but I watched a few of Bill Maher's recent videos, and really he's been more on the attack against his own party, and I think it's with good reason. So we're going to watch a lot of this video. I'll stop it here and there and kind of make some comments, but you have to understand we have to look at things from the other side sometimes, and also listen to what Bill Maher is saying to his party. And we have to do that to our side. I don't consider the Republican Party my party because, as I've told you before, I'm a libertarian. But I also consider voting for a libertarian presidential candidate a waste of a vote. I know there's a lot of people out there that would disagree with me on that, and I'm willing to have that discussion someday if somebody wants to. But the fact of the matter is we need to criticize our side as harshly as Bill Maher is about to criticize his side. And he's going to throw a few barbs out towards the conservatives as well, which is fine. And we should actually listen to those and kind of digest those and see why he can throw those barbs at us and why they can stick, or if they can stick, because frankly, a couple of them in the video I don't think stuck very well. But here we go. Let's get started. I don't want the video to be too long. So without further ado, here we go.
Finally, new rule with 2 Senate seats in Georgia still possible, seats that will make the difference between gridlock and progress. Democrats must figure out why so many voters still say to them, "You're good enough, you're smart enough, but doggone it, we don't like you."
True story. I think this is what we need to do as a party as well. We just lost a presidency. I know many of you are stuck on the election fraud, and I think that's a valid concern. I think there was election fraud. I'll tell you that straight out. But I think the fact that we couldn't have beaten Joe Biden in a landslide where it was impossible to fix the election because the numbers were so great. It's a problem. Just my personal opinion. I know there's a lot of my viewers out there that believe the entire election was stolen by millions and millions and millions of votes. I really don't think so. I think they moved some votes in some key states that flipped some very key states. And I don't think they needed to flip as many as you might think. I think there were a lot of people out there that had distaste for Donald Trump, and whether that's a valid reason or not, I'm not going to get into that in this video. I think it's ridiculous to vote against somebody because he tweets mean things. Trump did a lot of good things for the country. He did a lot of stupid things too. I think that's important to acknowledge. We have to acknowledge our weaknesses. But anyway, let's get back to the video.
Under the headline, "Something Went Wrong," the New York Times described a post-election conference call between Democratic leaders where they wept, cursed, and traded blame. Wait, I thought we won this one. Which we did. We did, and yes, ding dong, the whiny little bitch is dead. Celebration is in order. We took a big step towards saving democracy and in the process lost 280 pounds of ugly fat. All right, that's my last fat joke about Trump for the next 5 minutes. But Democrats were supposed to flip the Senate and didn't. Supposed to flip state legislatures, not a one. And they lost seats in the House in a year that was so much about making people aware of racism. Their share of minority votes went down. The message to Democrats from so much of the country seems to be, we don't like Trump, but we still can't bring ourselves to vote for you. If Cracker Jack was made of popcorn and dog shit, and half the people threw out the popcorn should want to know why.
So there's a lot there in what he just said in the last minute of the video. He's absolutely right. His analogy right there at the end is humorous, but I think Republicans should be asking the same question, because I see this from a point of view that is diametrically opposed to Bill Maher. And to use his cute little phrase, like, hey man, if the mix is made of dog shit and popcorn, I view us as the popcorn and them as the dog shit, and why didn't we clean the floor up with them? So we got to figure out what is going wrong there. I think we got to get off of the conspiracy theories, guys. I really do. I know this video is probably going to upset some people, because I have friends, family, really close people that were really big into some of the conspiracy theories, and the Q and all that stuff. I didn't get into it. I think some of it probably is true. I think typically when you have something really crazy that leaks out, you leak even more crazy stuff, and you leak out tons of crazy stuff that's false, and you mix it in, and then it's hard to find what was actually true. Also, on top of that, I think that they weaponized Q against conservatives and Trump supporters. I can't remember if I've said this in a previous episode, man, but I think a lot of this stuff, when you start going down the Q trail, it's purposely wove in there, and they kind of gradually stair-stepped into some really crazy crap that makes you look insane. And if they can do that, if they can make us look insane, then we are discredited. And all the good points that we have to make, they don't land, because, well, you believe in Q, or you believe in lizard people, or whatever. We'll get back to this.
Liberals can either write off half the country as irredeemable, or they can ask, what is it about a D next to a candidate's name that makes it so toxic. Let's ask Ruben Gallego. He's a congressman from Arizona, and he was asked how his Democrats could do a better job connecting to Latinos. He said, first, start by not using the term Latinx, which the vast majority of Latinos have never heard of, and when they do, don't like it. Who likes it? Pandering white politicians who mistake Twitter for real people.
So we talked about this on the channel before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it. I think the other thing that they need to do to land more Latino votes as from a Democrat perspective is let go of the socialism crap, because it doesn't land well with Hispanic people from my perspective and from my friends. It just doesn't land well. Like, Hispanic people are hardworking people. We want to earn what we get. We think that we can learn anything. We think we can become better than you at anything. We're just like that, at least for the most part. And I don't think socialism lands really well. Plus, there are obviously socialist countries in South America, Central America, and we as a Hispanic people have seen that before. I don't want to speak for everybody, man, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Hispanic people have seen that before, and they don't want to see that movie again.
And don't get it that Latinx is like fetch. You can try to make it happen, but it's never gonna. Virginia Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger said after the election, if we are classifying Tuesday as a success, we will get fucking torn apart in 2022. That's a congresswoman.
Hope so.
She was urging members not to talk about defunding the police. James Clyburn agreed. Defund the police is killing our party, he said.
Yep, because it's dumb.
Pennsylvania Democrat Connor Lamb says Democratic rhetoric needs to be dialed back. It needs to be rooted in common sense. Thank you.
Real quick here, this particular quote kind of bothered me, because to me it seems like what he's saying is, hey guys, we gotta, he may not be, I don't know the gentleman. I haven't done my research on him. But to me, it seems like he's saying, hey, we gotta kind of hide our agenda. We can't be out front with it. We got to hide it a little bit, and we'll get it in there when we get voted in. That's what it seems like to me, because he's just talking about the rhetoric, and that's what I keyed on when I heard this quote, is that he's only talking about rhetoric. He didn't say policy has to be rooted in common sense. He said rhetoric has to be rooted in common sense. And I think that is one of their key problems. And frankly, it can be a problem for the Republicans at times as well.
Thank you. There, in my opinion, is the crux of the problem. Democrats too often don't come across as having common sense to a huge swath of Americans. And these are people who believe in QAnon.
There you go. There you go, guys.
As I've
I mean,
said
that's
before,
what it gets us.
Politics in this country is binary. You have to wear everything anyone on your side does. Republicans are the...
I agree with him completely here. I never thought I would say that about Bill Maher, frankly. It's a little disturbing to me. I've been doing some soul searching lately, because I find myself with these more, what I guess I would call classic liberals, agreeing on certain aspects of things. I certainly don't agree with their policies, but some of their views on the woke left and stuff like that, like, I truly do just outright agree with them. I don't have any problem with what he's saying right here. He's going to get more into it, but we are binary. We have become binary in our political realm of the country, where you have to agree with everything that's Republican. You have to agree with everything. If you're a Trump supporter, you have to agree with everything that Trump does. If you're a Democrat, you have to agree with all their bullshit and all their platform, their whole, everything. You got to buy into it all, or you're a part of the problem, which is ridiculous. We should all have very nuanced views politically. We should all be very different politically. What matters to me and my family might not be the stuff that matters to you and your family. I have very specific things that I vote on. Economics is a big one for me. Gun rights is probably right up there after that. Any amendment stuff, any amendment to the Constitution type stuff is huge to me. Bill of Rights stuff is huge to me. But after that, it's really, economics and how we're going to get rid of some of the debt, how we're going to run the military, that kind of stuff. That might not be at the top of your list, and that's okay. So I guess what I'm saying is don't be careful not to be jumping down people's throats that are on our side, but maybe just don't see one political view. Maybe they differ from you on religion, or maybe they differ from you on social topics like gay marriage or something like that. We got to get off of that. We're not all going to be the same.
Party of don't wear masks, kids in cages, lock her up, and Democrats are the party of every hypersensitive social justice warrior woke bullshit story in the news.
So what he said right there might have been harsh to some of you guys to hear that you are a part of the party that doesn't wear a mask and throws kids in cages and lock her up. He's poking fun at the stuff that from their point of view is the craziest stuff on our side. Do I wear a mask all the time? No, but I also live in a rural area, and I have pretty nuanced views on masks. I don't have a problem wearing them in tight quarters and stuff like that. I think they're completely ineffective, to be completely honest with you. I've told you guys that. But if it makes people feel better, I'll do it for them. It's when it starts becoming an issue where we're going to force you to do this and that. I have problems with that. You can just ask me, and I'll be a reasonable person. But the kids in cages, like that, we're not the party of kids in cages, but that's the way they view us. So we have to look at ourselves sometimes, even if it's a baseless claim. But he attacked his party too, and you heard what he attacked his party with. And we view that same stuff from their party. So I guess the point is it's important to look from that other outside perspective at times to see how people might be viewing us, because we can always get better. We need to get better.
They're the party that disappears people or tries to make them apologize for ridiculous things. Anne Hathaway apologized last week because
those are all people that got canceled.
A witch, a fictional character that has 3 claw-like fingers, and that's offensive to people with limb differences. Hey. The week before, the NHL's Arizona Coyotes dropped a player after it came out in the press that when he was in 8th grade, he bullied a disabled kid. Yes, that's a bad thing to do. But are we really going after people for what they did in middle school now?
God forbid anybody comes after me for stuff I did in 8th grade.
What Brett Kavanaugh did in high school. Common sense. Last year, I read about how NBC held an emergency meeting to determine if Mario Lopez should be fired from his job at Access Hollywood. I thought, holy shit, did he sexually assault somebody? No, he went on a podcast, and when the host brought up the trend of liberal parents letting toddlers pick their gender identity, he said, my God, if you're 3 years old and you're saying you think you're a boy or a girl, I just think it's dangerous as a parent to make that determination. Cue the groveling apology, followed by America saying, yeah, I think Mario's right. Maybe kids shouldn't make big life decisions while you still need to make choo-choo noises to get the food in their mouth.
Obviously, he's 100% right there. I don't disagree with anything he said there. But a side note is Mario Lopez, Hispanic. This is another thing where I don't think the Democrats realize they don't land well with Hispanics on this stuff with like allowing kids to transition and be transgender and stuff. It's never going to work. It's never going to be okay in the Hispanic community for a child to be transgender. Sorry. You can hate on me. You can do whatever you want. You throw a little temper tantrum in the comments, whatever. It's just not going to be okay in the Hispanic community. And frankly, I agree. It's crazy. It's nuts. If you want to know why your party cannot dominate like they really probably could, start looking at this kind of bullshit.
I can do this all day. Cite stories, big and small, that are endlessly on people's news feeds, that add up to a constant drip, drip, drip of these people are nuts.
Yep.
Everybody heard about that story out of San Francisco about a guy who got on a crowded elevator with a female professor, and when she asked what floor, he said, women's lingerie. You know, a little joke, for which he earned a formal complaint because it left her shaken. Shaken? Who are these jellyfish? Like the woman
Ridiculous.
who almost derailed Biden's campaign because he kissed the back of her head before she went out to make a speech. She said,
all right, so real quick before he gets into this, I think Joe Biden is completely creepy. And I, before the election, was one of those that was putting out on all my social media all the pictures of him being freaking creepy with kids and women. And I think he is a creep. At the same time, try to put that aside for a moment and listen to the point that Bill Maher is trying to make, because it's a valid point. It's just a little skewed, in my opinion, because he likes Joe Biden. So if we take that into consideration when we're listening to him and just try to understand the point that he's trying to make, he makes a good point. I just think he maybe should have picked a different subject to make the point with.
her brain couldn't process what was happening. Really? Your brain couldn't process that, like string theory or wormholes?
This is the same party that says we're supposed to believe all women
to show support in his old man way.
say they felt attacked.
She said she was embarrassed, shocked, confused. Well, then the outside world isn't for you. And
If Trump did that, I mean, that would be sexual assault and everything else.
certainly running the world isn't. I talked to a guy in the Midwest once who told me this story about the day he went out to get his car in the supermarket parking lot, but couldn't back out because a mother and her very young daughter were standing behind his car, which was next to their car, which had a Hillary bumper sticker on it. And the little girl was screaming at her mother, who was profusely apologizing to the child. And he said to me, I just can't let people like that take over this country. That's what people vote on, not policy. Democrats kept saying in the campaign, you can't possibly think Trump is preferable to what we're selling. And many voters keep saying, yes, we can. In fact, our primary reason voting for him is to create a bulwark against you, because your side thinks silence is violence and looting is not. Because you're the party of chasing speakers off college campuses and making everyone walk on eggshells and replacing let's not see color with let's see it always and everywhere, formerly the position of the Ku Klux Klan. It would be so easy to win elections if we would just drop this shit. Democrats need to listen to our new president-elect's old boss.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly.
Quickly, like before they vote in Georgia.
There you have it. Obviously a lot going on there in that video to break down. It was a long video to break down. Hold on. I probably shouldn't have messed with this while I was recording. I hope this doesn't ruin everything. Anyway, interesting video to break down. This is gonna be a disaster in editing. Probably just gonna leave it, guys, because the video was good until that. Anyway, a lot going on there. The last few sentences that he had to say, there's a lot of truth there. They are the party they're the woke party, and that's what's killing them. But here's my problem, and here's why I wanted to watch this video on the channel. We're not taking advantage of it. We should be smashing them. They should not be able to win an election right now because they sound like lunatics. The problem is often we sound like lunatics. We have to let stuff go. When they get one over on us, we have to understand that, hey, if we can't prove that they got one over on us, we got to keep it moving. We got to look to the next battle. We can't hang on. I think we've been hanging on to a lot of stuff for several months now. Years sometimes. And it's okay to point it out. It's okay to say, hey, look at this. But if we can't absolutely prove it, we need to stop worrying about it and point out their lunacy. Point out how crazy they are and just reassure people that we aren't lunatics, because we're not. I said this in one of our early podcasts. We are the adults in the room. We need to start acting like it. And if we start acting like it, we won't ever lose another election. And that is what Bill Maher is telling his people. Unfortunately, he has a much larger voice than I have. I'm only going to reach a few people, a couple hundred people with this maybe. He reached millions of Democrats with that message. If they catch on, if they get smart, we will never win another election. We got to get our stuff together. It's not always fair, guys. The stuff that's happened over the last year, I could go on and on and on about my thoughts about how much of it was set up, how much of it was on purpose, how much of it was taken advantage of or just purely weaponized. I will say it right here and right now. I don't think COVID is a hoax, but it damn sure was weaponized against the Republican Party. And we allowed it to be, because we are not smart sometimes. We need to be smarter. And I hope we figure it out before the next election, man. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match 'cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go.